And we mustn't forget the fact that children are being battered and beaten around and psychologically abused. That for generations, families have been brought up on stories such as this one that my father told me he learnt in school when he was a child.
When Channel 4 launched After Dark in 1987, British television had never seen anything quite like it. The program immediately distinguished itself from every other talk or debate show on the air. Instead of a polished studio, a timed format, or a carefully edited sequence of interviews, After Dark presented viewers with something that felt almost startlingly real. A group of people sitting together late at night, talking without interruption or the constraints of a script. There was no host in the conventional sense, no commercial breaks to impose rhythm, and no producer's voice in the participants' ears urging them towards the next topic. It was a live conversation, unscripted and open-ended, that could run for 2 or 3 hours or longer until it simply ended when the discussion had naturally run its course. The result was a program that treated conversation as a form of art and television as a space for genuine thought. When the lights go out,
you are told that the reason you cannot attain the ends of opportunity and convenience is because you are inferior and therefore cannot qualify to enjoy that circumstance. You're either eternally crippled by that information because you accept it as truth, or you come to a point where you no longer can tolerate.
The premise was deceptively simple. Each week, a skeleton of guests from vastly different backgrounds was invited to gather in a relaxed studio space that resembled a living room more than a set. There were comfortable chairs, low lighting, glasses of wine or coffee, and often cigarettes. The guests would enter the space and begin talking about a chosen theme or issue. Sometimes it was political, like censorship, terrorism, or the state of democracy. Other times it was philosophical or cultural, dealing with subjects like death, sexuality, morality, or technology. The key was that once the discussion began, there was no script or predetermined outcome. The producers did not intervene unless absolutely necessary, and the cameras simply watched as the participants navigated their differences, stumbled into insights, or disagreed passionately. When the first episode aired, it immediately generated curiosity and discussion. Some critics hailed it as a brave and intellectual innovation, while others dismissed it as self-indulgent or chaotic. What no one denied was that After Dark was different. There was often a mixture of generations, ideologies, and temperaments. The lack of moderation meant that arguments could become heated, and there was always the risk that a discussion might drift or falter. Yet this very unpredictability gave the show its authenticity. Viewers never knew what would happen, and that was part of its magnetism. Over the years, After Dark featured a wide array of notable guests. Among them were figures like Germaine Greer, Norman Mailer, Oliver Reed, Edward Said, Tariq Ali, Edwina Curry, and many others from across the political and cultural spectrum. The combination of outspoken personalities and an unmoderated environment produced moments of tension and brilliance in equal measure. When Oliver Reed appeared on the program, for instance, his unpredictable and sometimes provocative manner added a sense of drama, while thinkers like Anthony Clare or Malcolm Muggeridge brought philosophical and moral reflection. The producers' genius lay in their casting choices. They sought not simply people who would argue, but individuals who would challenge each other's assumptions and reveal unexpected facets of their personalities. Because the show was live, anything could happen, and occasionally it did. There were famous instances of guests storming off, or of discussions veering into uncomfortable territory. Yet even these moments contributed to the program's reputation as a place where real human interaction occurred. Unlike other shows that aimed to control every variable, After Dark accepted uncertainty as part of its identity. Viewers saw intellectuals contradict themselves, politicians struggle to defend their beliefs, and artists articulate emotions that were not easily expressed in sound bites. The camera captured hesitation, doubt, and discovery, qualities almost entirely absent from most media discourse. Critics and scholars have often described After Dark as an experiment in televisual democracy. It offered a space where speech was not limited by authority or by the demands of entertainment, and where disagreement could be explored rather than avoided. It assumed the audience was intelligent and patient, willing to listen to complex ideas without constant stimulation. This assumption was radical in itself, especially at a time when television was increasingly driven by ratings and brevity. The show's late-night slot allowed it to exist somewhat outside the pressures of mainstream competition. Those who stayed up to watch it often felt a sense of belonging to a small, thoughtful community of insomniacs and intellectuals who valued depth over speed. Despite its high-minded reputation, After Dark was never purely academic. It was often humorous, emotional, or unpredictable. One week might feature a discussion on the nature of evil, another might delve into tabloid culture or the future of technology. The tone shifted depending on the guests, and sometimes a single remark could change the direction of the entire conversation. The show's ability to balance seriousness with informality gave it a distinctive charm. Participants could be fiercely argumentative one moment and laughing together the next. In this sense, it mirrored the rhythms of genuine conversation far more accurately than most television programming ever could. Over its decade-long run, After Dark evolved but never lost its central principle of open dialogue. It moved between topics as the political and cultural climate changed, reflecting the transformations of late 20th century Britain. The program aired during years of immense social and political transition, the end of the Cold War, the rise of Thatcherism and its aftermath, debates about gender, race, and class, and the emergence of new technologies and globalization. Each of these themes found its way into the discussions, often illuminated by the perspectives of those living through them. The show became, in a sense, a chronicle of contemporary thought during a pivotal era, capturing not just opinions but moods, anxieties, and hopes. Its influence extended beyond its immediate audience. Though never a mass market hit, After Dark earned critical acclaim and respect from intellectuals and media professionals alike. It inspired other programs to experiment with longer formats and more relaxed styles of discussion. In later years, as podcasts and online long-form interviews became popular, many commentators pointed back to After Dark as a precursor of that culture. Its commitment to unhurried conversation anticipated the rise of formats where people could speak at length without the constraints of broadcast television. The show demonstrated audiences were willing to listen to ideas unfold slowly, provided the conversation was genuine and participants were compelling. Nevertheless, After Dark was not immune to criticism. Some viewers found it pretentious, arguing it gave too much airtime to self-important intellectuals. Others complained the lack of structure made it boring or incoherent. There were also controversies about the inclusion of certain guests whose views were considered extreme or offensive. Because the show did not censor discussion, it sometimes provided a platform for ideas that provoked public outrage. Yet, even these controversies underscored the program's role as a testing ground for free expression. It asked difficult questions about the limits of speech, the responsibility of broadcasters, and the value of open debate in a democratic society. It's no longer dark.
Obviously, as a completely law-abiding citizen, you were glad that he was caught, and you would have wished that he'd been caught right at the beginning.
Absolutely.
But is there in any sense, as a father, a feeling of tension, partly still a feeling of, in any way, being on his side and
no,
being...
not as regards what he's become. I mean, to me, I probably think of him much as you do now, but I also remember him as he was, which was completely foreign to what he eventually became and what he is now.
In today's world, saturated with social media and algorithm-driven content, After Dark feels even more radical. Its patience, openness, and emphasis on nuance contrast sharply with the speed and polarization of contemporary discourse. It reminds us that conversation need not be competitive or performative. It can be a collaborative search for understanding. The show's quiet confidence in the audience's intelligence stands as a rebuke to the tendency of modern media to underestimate its viewers. It trusted that people would stay up late, not for spectacle, but for substance. Ultimately, After Dark occupies a singular place in British cultural history. Long after its final broadcast, After Dark continues to be remembered as one of the boldest experiments ever undertaken in public broadcasting, a testament to the idea that conversation, when freed from constraint, can become both art and revelation. And that's why After Dark was the craziest late-night program in British history. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think any contemporary UK chat shows match up to the standard of After Dark? Let us know in the comments section below.